yards was that? How many yards was it?
The final drive?
No, the touchdown for Hurts. Just a touchdown.
EAGLES.
12.
Eagles.
They just don't lose. They refuse to lose. The Philadelphia Eagles outlast the Buffalo Bills in a slugfest for the ages that went back and forth. 59-yard field goal ties it. The Bills score first in overtime, and the Eagles come roaring back with a drive that results in a Jalen Hurts 12-yard quarterback draw, and the Eagles defeat the Buffalo Bills 37-34. I mean, I'm telling you, that's one of the most grueling games you could ever watch and ever play in. And the Eagles again, like the same script of last week when they outlasted the Kansas City Chiefs. This one, they looked like they had no business winning several times during the game, especially after a lackluster first half. And here they come, bang, 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 and they hang in there, and they outlast the Buffalo Bills, whose season might be ruined after this game. It is the Lehocky post-game show, and we are live from Ocean Casino. I'm Mike Missinelli with Mark Farzetta, Bill Colarulo, and, of course, the All-Pro Seth Joyner. Fellas, I don't know, man. I'm just totally exhausted, and there's so much to unpack with this game. So I'll let you start and unpack it.
Well,
Go ahead, Farzy.
there's a lot to unpack in this huge suitcase here. But the bottom line is I feel like you saw two teams today, and you see why their seasons have gone in opposite directions. The Bills still haven't won back-to-back games since Week 3 and Week 4 of this season because they consistently find ways to lose games. At the worst possible time, a guy like Josh Allen finds a way to blow a game for his team. As great a game as he had, the one big play that he should have made, he didn't. Throwing the interception that was picked off by the Eagles, they were able to turn it into points, which was huge. Then on the other side of things, the other story you tell here is the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles just find ways to win. And sometimes the will and sometimes the bigger play is better than the team that makes more plays. The biggest play of this game was made by Jalen Hurts in overtime, and also, of course, the 59-yard field goal on the swamp of a surface that was Lincoln Financial Field by the greatest kicker in Eagles history, Jake Elliott. Unbelievable.
I got to get Seth this. Seth, you're being awful quiet over there. And I know we just watched the same game and we're going, oh my God, are you kidding me? This happens, that happens. I mean, 2 false starts by Jason Kelce in the crux of the game, and they still survive that because Elliott picks them up, and they go into overtime. And Buffalo actually has a chance to win in overtime. It looked like Diggs cut off the route, and he went outside when Josh Allen was expecting him to go inside, and that was probably going to be a touchdown that ended the game. What's your spin on this whole thing?
You know, I'm somewhat in disbelief of what I just watched myself. But, you know, I said last week that I'm done, you know, overly criticizing this team because the one element that they have, and you can talk about, we can go and look at how many yards the Buffalo Bills amassed on this team today and look at how few yards the Philadelphia Eagles amassed against the Bills today. And when you look at it, you would say to yourself, there's no way in the world that the Eagles won that game. The Bills ran 27 more plays than the Eagles ran today. But you know the one thing that the Philadelphia Eagles know how to do, and it's the thing that makes them the most dangerous, they simply know how to win. And when the chips are down is when they play their best. They kind of flounder, and then when the chips are down, they come through and they make plays where they have to make plays. The key players make the plays. Jalen Hurts accounted for 5 touchdowns today, 3 through the air and 2 on the ground. You know, it's about time for the national media to step up and give Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles their due. They have won in every conceivable way this year, and they are now 10-1, the only team in the National Football League with double-digit wins.
Bill, let me throw this stat at you. Because Josh Allen accounted for 505 yards of total offense and 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, and they lose the game. Seriously, he threw for 430. He rushed for 81 more yards. He ran for 2, threw for 2, and they lose to the Eagles.
You look at all of the stats in this game, and Buffalo should have won. But with this Philadelphia Eagles team and Jalen Hurts, you could throw the stats out the window because it can't be overstated. Sometimes it gets overstated about the intangibles. People always talk about intangibles with players. The intangibles with Jalen Hurts are real. This guy never blinks in the face of adversity, and I can't wait to see the stats. You've been seeing it floating around Twitter for the past couple of weeks about what he's done when they've been tied or down in games. He did it again tonight. What a performance when Jalen Hurts needed to perform. I'm lost for words. We talk about third down efficiency. Buffalo went 13 of 22 on third down. Eagles went 4 of 11. That in of itself should have been, oh, they didn't win this game. But Jalen Hurts, man. Jalen Hurts. Me and Farzi we were shaking up here watching the overtime.
I'm bewildered. I should stop reacting like this is unusual because they do it every week. And you look at, they were so down and out in the first half. It's 17-7, and it should have been a lot worse because there were a couple calls that Buffalo did not get and a couple opportunities that they squandered. The Eagles come back, score a touchdown in the third quarter, scored 2 more touchdowns to take the lead, and you're thinking, okay, well, here we go. But the Bills come back, and the touchdown that puts the Eagles ahead, and we're talking about what Josh Allen does. Okay, we just gave you his statistics, but his interception is what leads to the Eagles taking the lead at 28-24, and you're thinking, okay, they're fine now. But the Bills came back and scored a touchdown of their own, and I didn't know what to think at that point because at that point it's 31-28, and the Eagles are trying to get the ball down the field to even the score, and they didn't make a couple plays setting up a 59-yard field goal. Now, what did I say? What did I predict?
You stood right there and told me he's making this. Many times over.
I don't care about the spongy ground. This dude is going to make the field goal. He hit a smash, which would have gone for 62, and then ties the game. And even in the overtime, when Buffalo scores first, I say, okay, well, their luck's got to run out at this point, and it never does.
No, this is the crazy thing. You go back to 1999. You look at the stats, and this is a perfect example of something I like to say. Numbers never lie, but they sure as hell can deceive. And these stats are very deceptive about what the outcome of this game was, which obviously was the Eagles' win. But going back to 1991, the best streak anyone's ever had, any quarterback's ever had, with consecutive wins after being down 10 or more points, was 4. Jalen Hurts has 8, okay? Double the amount. That is an incredible streak, and it's because of that you can never truly count the Eagles out of a game. And what do you look for in a franchise quarterback every single game? You always want that chance to win. Even when you feel like the stats are going against you and the other team is outgaining you like crazy and getting third down conversions like crazy and you're turning the football over in the first half twice, you always want to feel like you have a chance to win that game. Jalen Hurts is the guy that gives you a chance to win that game.
And Seth, he looked terrible in the first half. It looked like he wasn't even there. He didn't want to play for some reason today in that first half. What flips it for him?
Listen, I think that, and I talked about it last week, I think that this coaching staff does a great job of making adjustments on the move. There were times last year where I didn't feel like the coaching staff made great in-game decisions. But when I'm looking at both sides of the ball, both of these coaches actually make really good decisions. Now, everyone's going to talk about the day that Josh Allen had. And everyone's going to belittle the fact that Jalen Hurts played the way that he did until it really, really mattered. So I ask you guys the question. And I know it's kind of off the beaten trail, but I'm trying to give due where due is deserved. The most important tangible for a quarterback. He can have a strong arm. He can run. He can read all the defenses. He can make all the right checks. He can do everything the right way. But the most important intangible is his ability to get you to the finish line and help you win football games, okay? If Jalen Hurts isn't the leader in the clubhouse right now for MVP of the National Football League, I'm not so sure that I know who should be. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I mean, what is that? Farzi, I think you gave a stat in pregame. This is now his 14th straight win against a winning team.
Yeah.
Against a winning team. Are you kidding me? I mean, that might be – is that something – that's an all-time record.
That's a record and the youngest person to do it.
It's a record.
Even before – when he tied the record, he was the youngest to ever do it. Now he has the record.
So, I mean, come on. Jalen Hurts deserves a lot of credit, man. He deserves a lot of credit. This guy is at his best when the chips are down. It's one thing to be able to do it when everything is going right, when you feel good and everything looks good and everything is good. It's one thing to get it done when everything is rolling the way that you want to get it rolling, okay? The hard thing is when everything is going against you and everything is wrong, how do you flip the switch? Most quarterbacks can't do that. He got sacked 5 times last week in the first half, and the guy just got up and kept firing. He had, 99 total yards in the first half, and the guy goes into the second half and he goes into a phone booth and comes out with a Superman Kelly Green suit on. Are you kidding me?
There was a point in the first half where Josh Allen had thrown for 209 yards and rushed for 49 more. Hurts stats at the time, 4 for 11 for 33 yards. And the Eagles were giving up third downs like it was candy. 3rd and long, 3rd and 10 they give up. They give up a 3rd and 9. They give up a 3rd and 7. And Buffalo keeps committing penalty after penalty after penalty. And you're going, at 17-7, you're going, my God, Buffalo should be ahead like 30-7 here in this game. Yeah. And so that's part of the reason the Bills are where they are. They didn't put the Eagles away in the first half when the Eagles were just begging to be defeated that way, begging to be pounded, and they allow the Eagles off the mat. And at 17-7, that quickly was 17-14, and they had life.
Yeah, it's the evidence of the Eagles not supposed to win this game was mounting after the first half. I mean, you put out some of the numbers there. Again, it was 40 rush yards by Josh Allen in the first half to only 33 passing yards from Jalen Hurts. He ended the first half 4 of 11 throwing. They had unable, by the way, to convert on a 3rd down. They had no business winning this game, but they were able to get the turnover that they needed, that Josh Allen has now thrown 8 consecutive games now with an interception, which is horrendous for him. Obviously, Jalen Hurts had an interception as well as 10th of the season, but they just found a way, no matter what, to continue to stay in this game and come up with the clutch play.
And the Bills, of course, turned 2 Eagles turnovers into 14 points. And again, there was a part at the end of the first half, and I wanted to get your guys' take on this because I thought it was a really important part of the game. The Bills looked like they were driving, and they were down, and Josh Allen got called for an intentional grounding call. Now, prior to that, it was an obvious horse collar tackle by Hassan Reddick, which was missed, and then the intentional grounding call. If you look at it, he was going down and he was close to the ground. But it looked like that there was kind of a receiver in the area.
They were about 5 or 6 yards up. It was a little
right. So that set them back when it looked like they were going to score a touchdown to go in the first half with an insurmountable lead, and instead it turned into a Tyler Bass field goal that was blocked by Jalen Carter, which preserved it. Mm-hmm. I mean, this game was like so up and down. I can't even process it.
And then right after that play, that's when Hurts had that bad fumble where he put it in the running back's
the mesh
belly,
point was
and
awful.
then they end up getting a touchdown. Well, we talked about Jalen Hurts' stats at the end of the first half. 4 of 11 for 33 yards, and he had 2 turnovers. Second half, he goes 14 of 20, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, another one on the ground. Eagles only had 14 points through the first 3 quarters in this game. They somehow put up 23 points in the fourth quarter and overtime. They're never out of a game, ever.
It's just uncanny. I can't believe it. The Eagles gave up their 14th TD of the season on a 3rd and 7 plus. Like they haven't been able to stop teams on 3rd down and long for some unusual reason. They didn't do it again today, and they still win the freaking game. I'm just speechless.
I mean, you pull out anything from this game, and all it is a giant finger pointing in the direction that the Bills should have won this game. But when you have Jalen Hurts as that X factor, and you're getting big plays from Olamide Zaccheaus of all people in the end zone.
That's the biggest play of the game because it's a 3rd and 15. He scrambles to the left. He throws it up. He has this uncanny ability when he's scrambling to throw it up and make a play out of it. And here's Zaccheaus, comes out of nowhere as 2 guys converge, one of them including Jordan Poyer, and he snags it to give them the lead.
Wait a minute. So let me – help me to understand this, okay? Because if Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, if anybody else would have made that play, it would have been more than just, he threw it up and the guy made the play. He was pointing, telling them where to go.
Well, I'm saying he has the uncanny.
He put the ball.
He has the uncanny ability of making a play like that. It was a perfect throw.
Mike, he's a playmaker, man. He's a playmaker, and nobody wants to give this kid credit for what he does. He throws the ball accurately. He throws it on time when he needs to throw it on time. Listen, the kid can just flat out play. All the haters that he has from one coast to the other, and the ones that preside right here in Philadelphia, they need to sit down and shut their mouths.
Who hates him?
Listen, there's a lot of people.
Where's the hate coming from anymore with Jalen Hurts?
Listen, get on my
He's
Twitter.
like the favorite of the
get on my Twitter page. Get on my Twitter page tonight.
Twitter is not like the national perception of it.
Yeah, but listen, Mike, you weren't on the pregame show. So after they beat the Chiefs last week, we talked about it on the pregame show, the three of us. After they beat the Chiefs last week, guess what? Nick Wright didn't own up to the fact that he picked the Chiefs to win the game. Then I switched over to ESPN, and all that everyone wanted to talk about on the major networks was the fact that, the Chiefs dropped the guy, McCole Hartman drops the touchdown pass that could have potentially won them the game. That's what they said. Could have potentially won them the game. Then they want to talk about all the mistakes that the Chiefs made. No one wants to talk about the fact that the Eagles won the game against the Chiefs. And here we go with the same narrative again tonight. We want to talk about what Buffalo didn't do right.
Well,
I don't give a damn about. No, Mike. No. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I don't care. I don't care what people have to say about how the Eagles won the game. They won the football game, okay? And I know for a fact, because I played this game for 13 years, you only win because you earn what you get. Nobody in this league gives you anything. And I'm sick and tired of everybody always saying that the Eagles won because of this. They won because of that. They won because they were better than the damn Bills today.
Okay.
It might have taken them to overtime to get there.
Arguing with that. But here's the other point. The people that don't make plays is the reason why the Eagles are better than the other teams. The fact that Zacchaeus catches that ball and Diggs takes the wrong turn on a play that should have been a touchdown, that happens to the teams that don't win.
No, I get that. But, the Eagles lived in that neighborhood, too, for 3 quarters. And all of a sudden they woke up and flipped the script. And that's my point. But I'm telling you right now, when you turn on the TV tomorrow and you listen to the national broadcast, all that everyone's going to want to talk about is all the mistakes and all the opportunities that Buffalo squandered. They're not going to talk about Jalen Hurts. They're not going to talk about the 3 touchdown drives in the second half. They're not going to talk about that he drove the team 9 plays, 36 yards, and set up a 59-yard field goal. They're not going to talk about the 9 plays, 75-yard quarterback draw that now he's set up to win the game. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to do it because they want to make it about everybody else.
That's why we're here to talk about it, and I don't see Nick Wright coming through that door. So that's why we're here.
I'm calling them out, though. Hey, listen, we got 2.5 hours. I'm calling them all out tonight, okay? And I want Xander to put all these damn clips up because I'm sick and tired of a 10-1 team, a 9-1 team, not getting the proper respect that they're due. All because you want to make it about everybody else, okay? The Eagles are where they are. They're 10-1 because they're just the best damn team in pro football, period.
Yeah, and Seth's talking about how Jalen Hurts doesn't get the respect he deserves, which I agree. But there's another person I don't think gets any respect across the NFL, and that's their head coach, Nick Sirianni. You have to be a good head coach to be able to win the games that this team is winning. Yes, it starts with Jalen Hurts and that leadership group, but it comes from the top. And the culture that Nick Sirianni has built with this Philadelphia Eagles team, you're not winning games like this if you don't have a great culture, and that starts with their head coach, Nick Sirianni. How he's number 5 in the odds to win Coach of the Year is mind-blowing to me. And everyone says it's because they have all the talent in the world. What this team does is more than just
all right,
talent.
let's talk about that, because Nick Sirianni is part of what they do offensively. And we're going to hear from John McMullen a little later, and he's going to say that offense is what Nick Sirianni is. But all the heat was coming in the first half on Brian Johnson. I mean, if you were on social media, Brian Johnson needs to be fired. They're not good enough with Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator. Explain to me the first half game plan that Nick Sirianni has to have his fingers in, where they looked inept.
Yeah, and they have no Lane Johnson, and the first thing you see is them throwing the football 3 times. That's where Nick Sirianni has his fingers on the game plan and all the play calling more than anything when it's scripted like that. And we talked about that on the pregame show as well, Seth, talking about how Nick Sirianni really shines through in that first 15, where more the play calling is on him than it's on Brian Johnson. So see them start a game without Lane Johnson as your right tackle, which going into today, you're only 13-22 in those types of games, and they cough up the football and they choke in that situation. And then in the second half of the game, where you would assume Brian Johnson has a lot more say on the play calling and has a lot more influence, that's where you start to see them have that kind of success. I'll give credit to Nick Sirianni for this, above play calling or game plan or anything like that. We all talked about this game going into it, how it was supposed to be a sort of letdown game. It was going to be an emotional game. You come off a game against the Chiefs, you're going to lose a game against the Bills before you play a game like this against the San Francisco 49ers. Whatever button it is, Nick Sirianni knows how to find it, knows how to push that button, knows how to motivate his team, knows how to keep this team focused, and then the leaders on this team take that to the nth degree. Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, all these guys. They know how to make sure this team stays focused. And to also get that blow before the game of not having your all-pro right tackle, to which you're 9 games under 500 without, you find a way to make the proper adjustments, manage the game with Jack Driscoll as your right tackle all of a sudden, and find a way to win this game.
Mike, you want to know what the difference is from one half to the other?
What's that?
The Eagles ran the ball 14 times for 69 yards in the first half, okay? 7 of those runs were by Jalen Hurts. The other 7 were by the running backs for 69 yards. In the second half, they ran the ball a total of 18 times for 116 yards. Now, I know I beat the dead horse until he comes back to life, but I will always and continue to do it. If they come into this game and their intent is to run the football, the first series they threw the ball 3 times in a row with Jack Driscoll out on the guy that's starting to lead.
Three straight throwaways, by the way.
Yes.
3 straight throwaways.
Yes.
They weren't even pattern, thrown away.
Because you got Jack Driscoll out there all by himself, no tight end, no back to chip, 3 plays in a row, okay? I always say, yeah, they might not want to be a run-centric team. They might not want to run the football, and they might want to throw it all over the map, but when push comes to shove, when the rubber meets the road, when everything in their offense is going sideways, what do? They run the football. And for the life of me, I don't understand why you wouldn't come out and just do that.
Then in their game plan early on, what is it? What compels them not to strike that kind of a balance
analytics
in the first half?
The analytics say that you run the football often and early, and then you get a lead, and then you throw it often and early, and then you come back late in the game and you run the ball to run the clock out. But not every game works that way, especially in a game like today. It's the same thing with the Chiefs last week. They started off slow, they decided to run the ball, boom, all of a sudden the offense starts clicking. You know, in bad weather, same thing. You get a half, almost 3/4 worth of just sloppy football. They make a decision to start giving DeAndre Swift the ball. Boom. All of a sudden, the offense kicks into high gear. Why not do that from the beginning?
You know, it sounds like you have changed your tune on the Eagles, because you're the one for most of these shows have been worried about these close games, and you're going, they're going to put themselves in a situation where they play somebody good, and because they've squandered it early, they're going to get clipped at the end. Are you off of that now, and are you throwing up your hands saying, they win?
No. Talk to me after the next 3 weeks. They got the 49ers, they got the Cowboys, and Seattle. Well, after 2 weeks. I ain't worried about Seattle. Okay? Talk to me after the next 2 weeks. Because I'm telling you right now, the 49ers are legitimately their biggest foe in the NFC. There's no doubts about it. I'm not worrying about Dallas because, Dallas is a front runner. If you don't believe it, go back and listen to the broadcast last week, the way they beat up on the Commanders on Thanksgiving Day. Even the commentator said this defense is built to play with a lead. So, in other words, you're telling me that defense is a damn front runner, okay? Dak plays well when things are going well. Now, if they got to go to Dallas, that's going to be a tough road to hoe. They are not going to win these next 2 football games playing the way that they played today early, because if you keep turning the ball over and keep allowing teams, what is it, 14 14, how many? 14 times they've given up points off of turnovers?
14 TDs they've given up on 3rd and 7 yards plus.
You cannot continue to live like that because sooner or later that's going to bite you. So to your point, I'm saying, yes, they're a good football team and they know how to win, okay? The Buffalo Bills aren't a good football team, in my opinion. I think they got some great players. I don't think they are what we thought they were. The Chiefs have a great player, but they're not what they've been. 49ers are for real,
yeah.
Okay? The Dallas Cowboys at home, the Dallas Cowboys could be a problem. The rest of the schedule, I'm not really worried about. But we'll find out to answer your question. We'll find out in the next 2 weeks.
You know, the way they show this profile every week, and I hear what you're saying, because the 49ers are formidable and the Cowboys are going to be tough at home, but I'm not even worried about that anymore. I mean, seriously, they win every week. And
You're not worried about what?
I'm not worried about the 49ers or the Cowboys because this team tells you that even if you look at it and go, they shouldn't win that game. They shouldn't win this game either. They win.
Wait,
they should have not won this week or last week, and they win.
Who says they shouldn't win? That's the reason why they play the game,
well, that's
man.
what I'm saying. I think they're almost impenetrable at this point. To look at it and go, oh, the 49ers are going to be a tough game. Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're a good team. But it wouldn't shock me at all if the Eagles win that game or go to Dallas and win and end up with one loss this year.
It doesn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me to see them win either. But my point is, and they keep talking about it, how, we haven't played our best game yet. We know we got to get better. All of those factors keep coming up, and we keep hearing that from week to week. At some point in time, it's all got to come together. Now, listen, I don't want this football team to peak right now, okay? I don't want it to peak against the 49ers next week. I don't want it to peak against Dallas the following week or the Seattle Seahawks. You know when I want them to be peaking? I want them to be peaking in week 16 and week 17 going into the playoffs where everything is just hitting where it needs to hit. So they still got time. But I'm just saying, even if they lose one of these games, it's not that big of a deal, but we're in the business of debate. We're in the business of looking at what we just saw and asking ourselves, can they continue to pull a rabbit out of their behind week after week after week?
You know what? My answer is yes. My answer is yes. I've seen enough rabbits being pulled out of hats.
Well, I mean,
no, I didn't say out of hats.
Or whatever, wherever.
I'm sorry, what? Where them? Okay, all right, just making sure.
If you missed that, you're going to have to read the show.
No, but
I know, you're talking about the lower end. I get it.
To your point, Seth, first off, I don't want them peaking in 17 and 18 those weeks of the season. I want them peaking in the second round of the playoffs when I think they're going to play their first playoff game after they get the the home field advantage and then clinch the number one spot.
Trust me, they need to peak around week 17 so that they're moving in this direction. If they wait to the playoffs to try to peak, too late.
Okay, that might be the case. But to the point earlier about not being concerned that much about the football. Look, I got respect for the 49ers. I even got respect for the Dallas Cowboys during the regular season. It's in the playoffs that the Cowboys are most likely going to choke anyway. But in all seriousness, every challenge and every bar that has been set by the Eagles, they have risen to the occasion. They did it last season, and they have done it so far to this season. You haven't beaten anybody yet. The Miami Dolphins come to town. They take care of business against the Miami Dolphins and handle the business in the second half, especially with Eli Ricks on Tyreek Hill. So that was another example of a guy like Olamide Zaccheaus stepping up when he needed to step up. You haven't beaten anybody yet? Okay, fine. You beat the Dolphins. How can you beat the Chiefs? They beat the Chiefs. The Bills come to town. They're supposed to be on this higher arc, coming back with a new offensive coordinator, new life in the team, and they beat the Buffalo Bills. They just continue to beat the good teams. And even though the Bills have not been the team that we thought they were going to be in the first half of the season, they were still 3 points better than them today. 4 points better than them today.
Farzi, I will say this. The Miami Dolphins are a finesse team. The way you beat a finesse team is you batter them, you bloody their noses, okay? Next week, we're about to find out from a physical standpoint. Now, granted, the 49ers are a physical team, and they've got some finesse things that are baked in there. Like, if Christian McCaffrey is running the ball with any kind of, regularity, and getting the ball out of the backfield, and then they start mixing and matching him with Debo, and they've got everything cooking and everything going the way that they want it to go, now they can be problematic. So they're somewhat of a finesse team on the offensive side of the ball at times, and then they can get physical when they bring in Juszczyk and they really want to run the ball, and they are 100% physical on the defensive side of the ball. okay? So now we're about to see. We're about to see, because this will be the most physical test that the Eagles will have all season long. And Dallas to come right behind them, this could be a knockdown, drag out. Oh, going to the game against the Dallas, everything is sore and everything is hurting. I understand. I've been through those types of games before, But these teams that they beat up until now, they've been pretty much finesse teams. They haven't really played against a physical brand of football, like they present. They present a physical brand. That's why they beat the 49ers last year.
Well, hopefully, talk about a physical brand of football with the 49ers. Let's hope Fletcher Cox is ready to play. Milton Williams makes it back from that concussion, and they also lost starting linebacker Zach Cunningham, who I think has been their best linebacker all season. He really didn't play in the second half tonight, so you got to hope all these guys are able to play.
And you know what? It didn't even matter because Christian. Here's the example of how good they are. Christian Ellis comes in. He gets sucked in on the pass to Gabe Davis on a 3rd and 4, which puts the Bills up 20-31. Now, that should have cooked them.
Yeah.
Right? That should have cooked the Eagles. It didn't cook them. And you know why? Because a 59-yard field goal is no big deal.
On a marshy field.
Exactly. And then the Bills score in overtime. That should have cooked them. They come right down the field systematically. They didn't panic, right? It's like, okay, we got time.
Without their all-pro right tackle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mike, you know what I love about that drive the most? We were sitting there watching it, and I said, I hope and pray that Jalen's mindset is that we don't have to hit the home run. We don't have to go get it all right now. When you're in a situation like that, you're down by 3, you're only going to get one possession to either kick the field goal and tie it, which ultimately probably ties the game, or score the touchdown and actually win the game. I said in this scenario, in this situation, it's all about converting third downs. You got to get first downs. You got to matriculate the ball down the field. You got to get first down after first down and move it. It doesn't matter. Just don't take the shot down the field. And my goodness, could you have seen a prettier drive? I mean, even a third down completion to Devontae Smith, it was just smooth. It was unbelievable.
That was their only third down conversion on that drive, too.
So
how
they
amazing
took advantage.
is that?
Here's what was smart about that drive. They took advantage of a really tired defense. That defense was tired.
Our defense was tired.
Yeah, I get it. But let's focus on this drive now that they need, okay? Buffalo is playing a little bit soft. They're a little tired. They're playing a little bit soft. So they're allowing the dribs and drabs. They got a 2nd and 2. They convert for a first down. There was a 2nd and 10. They converted on first down. And until they got to that 3rd and 3, we're in the last minute of the game, and they still didn't panic. They just do whatever it takes.
Let me tell you something. There's a strength and a weakness in every defense. A strength and a weakness in every defense, okay? And baked in and built into every offense, or did I say defense? In every offense, there's a strength and a weakness. And baked into every offense is an outlet. It's really up to the quarterback to decide that I'm okay taking the 3 or 4 yards. Tony Romo just kept going on and on about, I'm happy that Josh Allen and the culture changed. Listen, the culture didn't change after they fired Ken Dorsey. Josh Allen decided, I've been throwing too many interceptions, so instead of forcing the ball down the field, I'm just going to take what the defense is giving, okay? So it's up to the coaching staff to communicate that to your starting quarterback that, hey, we don't need to force anything. Take a book out of Tom Brady. Tom Brady played for, 20-something years? Just dinking and dunking and moving the chains and scoring each and every possession that he could. But we get so enamored with the explosive play and the bomb and the big and the 20-plus. Just take what's in front of you. That way you can score every down. I don't get it.
Let's take a breath. And right now I got to tell you about my buddy Gary Kane. If you're looking to hire right now in the IT, engineering, and manufacturing or technology fields, and who isn't, contact Gary Kane and his team at Kane Partners Staffing Solutions. And here's how you can connect.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All righty, it is the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino. As you can see all the excitement in the back. The Eagles win again in unbelievable fashion. They outlast the Buffalo Bills 37-34 in overtime. They are now 10-1. Kayla Santiago is going to join us in a little bit for the Diamond Debate of the day, and also the great John McMullen live from Lincoln Financial Field, who covered the game for us here at JAKIB Media. We'll hear from John in a little bit. But right now it's time for the player you can bank on, presented by First Trust Bank, the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. And for this, we go to the great Mark Farzetta. The player you can bank on. Can you pick one out today?
There's a number we have not mentioned of all the numbers, and it's the most mind-blowing number. 7, Mike. 7. 7 was the passer rating of Jalen Hurts in the first half of this game. 7. Finished with 96.
It's a movie, is it? 7?
Yes, exactly. Except this one had a much more happy ending than the first one. But anyway, you're looking at this game, and Jalen Hurts able to propel this team in the second half to win this game, and in overtime and win that game. And the 9-play drive that they had to win this game, you don't face more than 1 third down. And on a third down earlier in the game, you were able to find, I understand if you're looking at him finding A.J. Brown for that touchdown that he ended up finding Olamide Zaccheaus on. I understand if you find Devontae Smith. But if you make Olamide Zaccheaus the star of that play on the receiving end of it, you're doing something right. To go from a 7 passer rating to finish the game with a 96. And also, let's not forget, you're going at, 3 for 11 in the first half. Then you're going, 4 for 11 passing in the first half. To finish the game 14 of 20, that is nothing short of spectacular from Jalen Hurts. And without question, the guy you can bank on. 8 straight games now when you're down 10 or more points, he brings you back. No one's ever done that.
Well, I can't argue. I really can't. I mean, I was just stunned.
Jake Elliott.
It looked like he was checked out of the game, more than any other game. He's had some slow starts, but in this game it looks like he wasn't even there.
No, there was no rhythm.
People on social media were going, "What's wrong with him today?"
Yeah, there was no rhythm. There's no fluidity to the offense. They look like they were having probably the worst time we've ever seen the Eagles have without Lane Johnson as their starting right tackle. And this, of course, a very last-minute thing. You learn right before the game that he's got groin soreness and then won't be able to go, so Jack Driscoll's going to go up. They really look like they struggled to adjust, and we've seen them struggle in the past. Again, 9 games under 500 without Lane Johnson in the starting lineup, 22 for 33, and you look at some 11 games. And then you look at the situation like this. They come out, have nothing going for them offensively. And then all of a sudden, they start running the football. Things start to get established. Oh my! They did the thing. They did the cliche of actually setting up the pass by using the run, and that's where you start to see this offense really take off.
I mean, listen. You look at people are going to look at the numbers, and Seth's right. People are going to look at the numbers and go, "Look at that! Josh Allen outplayed him." Really, the Bills really messed this game up. Because Jalen finished with 200 yards. He did throw for 3 TDs. He got sacked a couple more times. Josh Allen, meanwhile, went crazy, throwing 51 times for 339 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for him. He was unstoppable when he ran the football, and he bullied his way to a couple of first downs. And yet Buffalo comes up with, as we say in Italy, Ugats, right? And the Eagles win the game.
Yep.
Right? I don't know. You know what Ugats means? We got 3 Italians on the board here.
Translate later. That's an honorary, right? Yeah.
I got an idea what it means, but I can't say it on air.
No, but I mean, you've referenced the 13 years in the NFL. Obviously, linebackers are very important, especially in the time you were playing. You look back at a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, and what does that do for a team when you know that guy's got you, especially in the second half? If things aren't going well in the first half, you know that guy is going to be there to make the play by the time the game's over.
Well, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world when you know that you got that kind of firepower. That's why I always say, an offense, the Eagles came into this game averaging, 27 points per game, okay? 5th in the NFL. If our offense would have averaged 27 points a game, you know how many games we would have won, how many Super Bowls we probably would have won. It makes life so much easier for a defense when your offense is averaging those kinds of points. The other thing is you just know when you have a guy like that on your side that when the chips are down, just as long as you keep battling, that he's going to keep battling. And Jalen Hurts, this is a guy who's never going to give up. That's why he's the unmitigated leader on this football team. Because when his knee was hurt, he stayed in and he kept battling. They came back and won. When the team is in a situation where they look like they're not going to win the game, he just keeps battling. And it's like you're watching this guy out here scraping and just doing whatever's necessary to get back in the game. It's like you're down, 10 points.
Going into the fourth.
Yeah, 24-14. And you're right, that drive was monstrous at the start of the fourth quarter.
And then all of a sudden it's like, he gives you life. He did the same thing last week. They were down by 10. They looked like, the tent was kind of folding a little bit, like one of the legs got kicked out, and then all of a sudden they score a touchdown, and all of a sudden you can see the life. You can almost see there's some blood, some flushness in the cheeks of the team again. And all of a sudden, they start to believe again, well, if he's doing it over there, well, we can get it done over here on this side of the ball. Now the defense starts to complement what the offense is doing, and the next thing you know, boom, here you go. The team is right back in the game again and in position to win it again. And as a matter of fact, they do enough to actually get it won.
Brian Johnson doesn't get a lot of love from anybody, but I'm going to give him some love on that with the touchdown.
I gave him love on the pregame show.
All right, but he didn't get love in the first half.
No, I gave him. You're right, but I gave him love in the pregame show.
On that touchdown, the design, it was a fake screen, and then he hit Devontae in the middle, which was a great call and a well-designed play. And that was like the end of a 7-play, 75-yard drive, which retook the lead for the Eagles. So you're right. That fourth quarter drive was probably the most important drive.
And, Mike, I'll say this. I'm guilty because when they ran those back-to-back screens last week, I tweeted in all caps. I'm like, what in the hell was that? Then they ran it again tonight on a second down play, and they wound up having to punt, okay? But now that I'm thinking about it, it's all a part of offensive coordination because if I give you that look And now all of a sudden you believe that I'm going to try that screen again, and now I pump it, and then I got Devontae in the end zone. That was set up by that second down screen that actually didn't work, you know? So we can talk about how much we don't like what Brian Johnson brings to the table. And every offense is going to go through some periodic times where they don't look, you know, as efficient and as potent as they do. But like I said in the pregame, you almost have to dig a little deeper into the game, and you have to watch the film to actually understand the coordination and why they're running what they're running and how it all works out. Because just because they run something in the first half and it doesn't necessarily work, understand that you're giving a snapshot. You're giving a picture to not only the defense, but the defensive coordinator. And they're taking that picture, and they're looking at it. Okay, what's the adjustment we're going to make if they give it to us again? And now they've got another play off of it that gives them success.
You know, and that play got them to within a field goal. So we have to mention that at that point, Allen gives it up. He gives it up, and it's the 9th straight or the 8th straight game with an interception for him. So he gives it up there, the Bradbury interception. But then, like, the monstrous play, I think we're almost underappreciating that play that he makes as Zacchaeus catches. I mean, that's just an amazing play where you're running to the left, you're scrambling, you throw it perfectly for those two defenders not to get it and for your receiver to make a play on it. It's such an important play. That's a play when you look back at this season. That's going to be a key play that you look at.
Yeah, and I was happy to see, even though Quez Watkins was activated today, they didn't give all of Olamide Zacchaeus' reps back to Quez, because I don't think Quez catches that ball. We've seen him not come up in big moments. Olamide Zacchaeus, when he's had his opportunities, he's had some big plays.
He's a fighter. He's more of a fighter than
He's
Quez.
from Philly. That's
I mean,
why.
really, when's the last time you've seen Quez fight for a ball? Really, I don't want to put the guy down, but he looks like that he's an irrelevant part of this team at this point.
Well, his speed is relevant, and that's why he's on the roster, and that's why they activated him. Because with the roster constructed the way that it is, he's the fastest wide receiver that they have. So he's the guy that can run clear outs that get other guys open. So he's important from that standpoint. He's just not a guy. But every once in a while, you know, teams are going to fall asleep on him because they're going to be like, well, you know, they don't ever throw him the ball. You know, he's a decoy. And that one time that you go to sleep, Jalen's going to find him and hit you with a deep ball. Now, it might only happen once or twice a year, and he may only catch 1 out of 2 of those balls, you know. But at least you make the defense have to think about the fact that you got a guy that runs 4.3 that's streaking through the middle of my defense, and I got to account for that guy. So there's an importance, you know. But when you think about how much playing time Julio Jones is getting, you think about how much more playing time Olamide Zacchaeus is getting. Think about how much 4 wide receiver sets you're seeing because now Dallas Goedert is out of the lineup, and they're going empty with five guys out with the running back, you know, in the slot position. It's absolutely crazy, the creativity that you're beginning to see. And that keeps defenses from being able to bring pressure and be able to, you know, it gives the offensive line a chance to give Jalen time to actually throw the football.
You know, we're looking at this game, Seth, and I know you hate to see them with 4 down linemen when the other team's running the football.
They can't stop it out of 4 man.
And the Bills, when they got down 28-24, their drive was based on running the football. They started to run the football, and every time you saw a 4-man front, you're screaming at the television. You can't stop. They don't stop the run with a 4-man front.
They can't, and they can't because this to me is where, you know, linebackers, the devaluation of linebackers for the Philadelphia Eagles is a major problem. It's because if you're a linebacker that's played a lot and understand run fits, then you understand, you know, how to play the run. You got 2 linebackers in the 4-man front. When they're standing back there, they're not sure what's going on. Well, I can tell you what's going to go on every single time. They're going to double team the 2 tackles, okay? And the longer that you as a linebacker stand back and watch that double team, you got 600 pounds that's pushing on 300 pounds in your lap. So by the time you react, now they come off the double team and they've got push. As a linebacker, the minute that I see, I'm keying the lineman. That's part of the problem is they're probably not keying the lineman. They're looking in the backfield. So they're looking at what the running back is doing, and by the time they figure out which way he's going, they look up. The offensive lineman is on him. No, you got to key the uncovered lineman. The uncovered lineman tells you whether it's run or pass. And the minute that you get the double team, they got to come downhill right now and take that offensive guard off the double team. Because if they do, now they can get to their gap and their defensive lineman can fall in his gap, because across the board, every gap is covered. But when they don't play that way, every gap isn't covered. Now you begin to create creases and seams in the defense because the linebackers aren't coming downhill fast enough. And then you turn around and you get the 5-man line. The issue with the 5-man line is you're weaker on the back end because you got one less guy, but you're stronger against the run because the one linebacker that's in the box, he's only got one gap to play. He's got that A gap to flow either way. And once he starts to flow, he's unblocked the entire time. So just as long as they don't run that ball in the A gap, there's nowhere else to run it. And then with Carter and Jordan just tearing up the defensive front, more times than not, they become free hitters to the football and run situations. But they got to figure that out. They've got to figure out how to teach these linebackers, okay, how to fill their gap and how to get those double teams off our tackles in the 4-man front and how to flow and how to do it now, because the longer you wait, the more problematic it is.
But really the problem today on defense wasn't stopping the running backs. They only averaged 3 yards a carry. It was stopping Josh Allen. He had 9 yards a carry. He ran 9 times for 81 yards. And now if Zach Cunningham's out, you already have Nakobe Dean out, would you make a move for Shaq Leonard? Would you bring him in?
No, because listen, there's a reason why the Colts cut ties. They still owe him $6 million. As a veteran, they have to pay him. Yeah, you could probably get him for little or nothing, but if he could play, he would still be on the roster. If he could still, they got to pay him anyway, okay? So the reason why they let him go is because he's injured, he's not effective, he's not able to do what he was able to do last year. Now, if you roll into the offseason and you ask me that question, I say yes. You bring him in, you find out what the problems are, you try to get him healthy, you give him time to learn your defense, and then you might have a gem moving in the next year. But right now, listen, good teams don't cut good players, man. Good teams don't cut players who have something to offer. So I would say no. And a lot of people, I see them on social media and in the chat and everything else. Oh, we got to go get Shaq Leonard. If Shaq Leonard could play, he'd still be on their roster, plain and simple. There's something wrong, and that's the reason why they let him go.
Well, the running backs, Bill, did hurt him on that drive where they took the lead, because Cook had 11 and 11, and then Murray had a 13 and a 6, and then they had a 4. So all of a sudden they started running the ball there.
And Mike, Buffalo did the same thing to the Eagles that the Eagles were doing to them. They would go empty, okay? The Eagles wanted to still play too high because they didn't want to give up anything deep, which now forced the last backer out of the box on the tight end to the 3-man side. So now when Josh pulled the ball down, you got 5 guys blocking 4. You just turn the 2-3 techniques out, and he just run it up the middle, So they were doing the same thing that Jalen was doing to them.
You weren't very happy with Tony Romo today. I want you to tell the people why. You thought he was cheerleading for the Buffalo Bills.
Because he does. He does. The last thing Tony Romo wants to see is the Eagles do well, okay? and I get it. It's tough. It's tough because, if I was in his shoes, I would say there's a part of me inside that would be rooting for the Eagles to do well, because I want to see them do well, because I played the majority of my time for the Eagles. But when you're in that position, you've got to figure out a way to be, a lot less biased. So for instance, okay, you talked about it earlier, the horse collar, okay? He's got him by the front of the jersey. It's pretty darn evident that he's not going to be able to get him down with one hand. How else is he supposed to get him on the ground? This whole horse collar thing is nonsense. The horse collar is when you're running and you grab the guy from behind and you drag him down, that you might break his ankle or break his leg. But if you grab him by the back of the jersey and he's in front of you, That's not horse collar.
No, but then he reached around from behind and grabbed
They kept talking about it and talking about it.
Clear horse collar.
They kept talking about it like it was the most important play of the game. Shut the hell up.
A play that was important in overtime was the roughing the passer on Nicholas Morrow. Some of us were saying, hey, that was a ticky-tack call. Mike thought he did throw the elbow.
Shoulder at him.
That was a flop. That was such a flop.
The officials are looking for that when it's a quarterback.
There's a chicken wing and a turkey wing, okay? There's a major difference between a turkey wing and a chicken wing.
I am not going to sit
there.
I can't possibly
that was
sit
a pigeon
and
wing.
Complain about the officials today after the Bills got clipped. I mean, seriously, they got hosed in the first half, call-wise.
I mean, throughout the game, 11-2. I think they got 11 penalties, and the Eagles got 2.
If they were guilty of them, they were guilty. You think that the
4? They ended up with 4.
Let me ask you a
had
question.
back-to-back false starts.
You think that the referees, if there's a call that's there to be called, that they're not going to call it?
They missed a pass interference.
I told you why they missed it. Did I not tell you?
It's still a pass interference.
You can't call it if you don't see it. You see that happen. You see that happen all the time. Now, if the hand was on the back of the jersey, that ref that's responsible for watching that would have seen it. But you got to give Darius Slay some credit. He grabbed him on the front of the jersey, and both players were backs were to the ref that's responsible for calling that, so he never saw it.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll agree to disagree.
That's a veteran knowing the game.
Some guy just gave me a pierogi coupon. I got 2 pierogi coupons.
There you go.
Free.
Treat yourself.
I'm a pierogi fan. Coming up is the Diamond Debate with Kayla Santiago. And hang on, because John McMullen time is coming soon on the Eagles postgame show, the Pond Lehocky postgame show, live from Ocean Casino. We're back after this.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hello.
And welcome
to the Diamond Debate
with Liam and Hillary
in the heart of Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania.
What you got for us today on your right hand, Hill?
Today we've got a right-hand ring, Liam.
What is that?
It's a ring that you would wear on your right hand.
That's it?
That's all there is to it.
Okay.
It's meant to balance your left hand situation, or if you're not engaged or married, it says, I'm not engaged or married, but I still have this over here that's sparkly.
There's a lot of other ways you can say that.
No, not if you're trying to wear jewelry. Which
Okay.
one's your favorite?
I love this Art Deco moment. I mean, with these beautiful baguettes and round diamonds. I mean, who wouldn't say no to one of these?
Baguettes are hot right now. People also love an eternity band. It's beautiful.
Great for the other hand.
That's right. So come on down here, where love grows here at Mark's Jewelers.
Every day of the week except Sundays and Mondays.
That's because we are closed.
My name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech, we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back to the Pilot Hockey Eagles postgame show. If you missed this game, you're a disgrace. Because, seriously, this is one of the most amazing games on earth. If you're just tuning into the show, like you're seeing the postgame show, I wonder how they did. You missed a thrill ride in this game, 37-34. In overtime, the Eagles win it. It's time now. Kayla Santiago joins us on the panel for Kayla's Diamond Debate, brought to us by Mark's Jewelers. Kayla, talk about the holiday season and Mark's Jewelers for us.
They've got a ton of deals that we will talk about after this segment, but let's talk about what I've got on today. A huge Eagles win, by the way. I'm super hyped up to be here and just talking with you guys. But we've got the beautiful bracelet that you want to go make sure you get, as well as the pearl necklace. These are my absolute favorite. I actually got a pair for myself, so I definitely have a lot of people that should go get them, especially if you're looking for a Christmas gift. And then, of course, the beautiful pearl earrings that match perfectly with the necklace and the bracelet. But, guys, we've talked about Brian Johnson. You alluded to it in the pregame show and then also in the postgame show. Mike, I'm going to start with you here. I think that he made a lot of second-half adjustments, and that's what we've been talking about him needing to do. Do you feel like you saw enough from him today? Do you want to see more going forward? Of course, we want him to get better and better, but this game we really saw Brian Johnson finally make some adjustments in the second half.
You've been very down on Brian Johnson.
I have. And now I was here, and I'm a little bit in the middle after that win.
Well, listen, I don't understand. Like the first half, to me, is like they weren't ready offensively to play. I don't get that. And so, like, play designs you have to get your team off. And sometimes, like, the way they start, it's like you're not interested in getting the team off with some things that will really click and establish something or mix something up or get the ball. I thought they were going to get the ball to A.J. Brown a lot today because they didn't get the ball to him last week. And they didn't really, I guess he had 9 targets today, but they did. They get away from the run. They call these weird wide receiver screens, which never work. They never work. A screen to the running back occasionally will work. The wide receiver screen never works. They don't have a tight end they can use that screen. They like to run it with the tight end. So I'll give him a break. He's without a tight end, which completes the offense. Because that makes, with Goddard in there, it makes the offense a lot more versatile. And maybe he just can't find the right methodology without this tight end.
Now, the votes on the poll on the Twitter page are, yes, they need to see more, about 35%. No, they don't. And then, of course, seeing how the season goes on is about at 36% as well. So make sure you go vote on that Twitter poll. But we'll go around here, Seth. We'll go to you now. Brian Johnson in this game, you guys already talked about the rushing yards in the first half, and then they have 116. By the way, DeAndre Swift, 2 huge runs to really put the pedal on the metal. Are you happy with the adjustments in the second half from Johnson?
Yeah, I love the adjustments, that they've made the last 2 weeks. I just, it's just hard for me to understand why we can't start a game off that way. Let's start off running the football, and then, that will open up the rest of the passing offense. But, we sputter through a half of football, the 3/4 of football like we did today for us to get to the point of understanding that we have to run the football to balance up our offense. And, Mike, to be honest with you, I didn't expect for anyone to have a big day catching the ball today, the way just similar to last week. I thought there would be another one of those gritty, grimy games, where both teams, had to run the football in order to, find any kind of offensive continuity. But Devontae Smith wound up being the guy to have a day, 7 receptions for 106 yards, and a big touchdown catch. But I think that, you talk about the absence of a tight end. I think that, this is another curve that Brian Johnson has been thrown. You go from being the quarterback's coach last year to being the offensive coordinator, the guy that's calling the plays this year. So for the first time in your career, you're actually calling plays. You're playing against some of the better defensive coordinators and their proteges in the league because of your Super Bowl success the year before. And then all of a sudden, you lose the top 3 tight end and one of the integral parts of what you do. So now you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I right the ship? who do I go to? How do I go to? How do I design it, to make it make sense? Because you can take away, the two wideouts, but you can't take away Goddard. Now that you don't have Goddard, you don't have to worry about taking them away. The defense can take away the two other guys, and now you got to figure out which other piece do I use on a consistent basis, or how do I mix it up to make it all make sense, So I'm going to defend him a little bit, and I've been critical too, but I talked about in the pregame, we talked about in the last segment. I'm giving him a break because I'm beginning to go back and look at the offense and look at ways that he's actually coordinating those screens. They may not work, but they're setting up other things down the road in the game that they're going to later on in the game, and they're having major success with it.
I thought in the early goings of the season, it was a slam dunk as to who was the better coordinator. It was Sean Desai versus Brian Johnson. First or second year coordinator, obviously in Sean Desai, but first year here in Philadelphia, first time play caller, offensive coordinator with Brian Johnson. Sean Desai was running away with it. I believe thoroughly that you have now Brian Johnson closing that gap between the way they started the season and right now. And one of the biggest things is you talk about the second half push that this team consistently has. Nick Sirianni has his fingerprints on this offensive game plan and play calling in the first 15 plays. I mean, that's more on him than it is Brian Johnson. To see him flourish in the second half and see the team flourish in the second half, and Jalen Hurts is obviously a huge part of that, I think is a huge feather in the cap for that of Brian Johnson. And let's look again. He is a first-time play caller in the NFL. He is 1 point worse than Shane Steichen was last year in a Super Bowl season. He's about 30 yards fewer for the entire season than Shane Steichen was. And this is a guy doing it the first time in his career. I am willing not necessarily to give him a break, but I do see the light a little bit more with Brian Johnson, and there's a method to the madness more so in the second half than what I've seen.
Question. I can go back to 2017 when the Eagles, in my opinion, were going through a similar situation. Doug Peterson had proclaimed that he was going to call the plays, okay? The team got off to a shaky start. They weren't running the football. And, I got the sense that Frank Reich, because he had been in the league so many more years than Doug Peterson, I had always said that Frank Reich is the voice of reason for Doug Peterson because it was clear that Doug wanted to throw the ball, and his mandate might have been to throw the ball. But when the offense really got to rolling, it was because they made a decision to run the football, and it balanced everything up. I don't know, maybe I submit to you guys if Nick Sirianni's fingerprint is all over this game plan, and it's been all season long, when they start a game off with the intent to throw the football, it maybe is that, Nick Sirianni's fingerprint so much more as it is Brian Johnson later on in the game being the voice of reason, saying that, hey, this 3 and out, because listen, what did the Eagles do? Let me get over here. They went touchdown, interception, punt, fumble, half, punt, touchdown. So you can see the kind of inconsistency in the offense, especially through the first 3 quarters before things started getting, on track, and they began to get on track because they began to run the football. So I ask you the question, if Nick Sirianni wants to put his fingerprint on the offensive game plan, could it be that he is the one that really wants to pass the ball early in the game, and Brian Johnson is the one that's the voice of reason later on down the road that's saying, hey, coach, maybe we need to rein this in a little bit and be a little more balanced than what we're doing.
Great question for John McMullen, and I'm going to let you ask that question to him. Here's what I miss, Seth. I miss the quick slant to AJ. Now, I don't know if they're taking that away. I don't know whether the tight end being absent shuts that play down. But that play had tremendous, unstoppable success early in the season. Why aren't they running it?
Because I think that there are some things that have to happen. From a defensive perspective, you kind of saw Tony Romo break down the shell, in red today in the broadcast about how they were playing. So they gave him one look, and then they rotated, to, a quarters, halves look, or a quarters look to make it seem like, okay, we gave you one look, but we're not going to let you hit big plays down the field, So a lot of times the quarterback will get to the line of scrimmage, and he's got a play call, and he may check the play at the line of scrimmage based upon what he sees and what he thinks that they're in. But once the defense begins to morph, and they disguise and the ball is snapped and now they move to something else, it changes the play and it changes what your adjustment possibly could be. And a lot of it, too, is I can't see. I got to go back and look at the film. It sounds like Nick Sirianni now. I got to go back and look at the film to find out how they're playing A.J., because if they're going to double him, like if I was going to double A.J. and I'm trying to take him away, I want my corner playing inside technique, and I'm going to shade the safety his way. So in other words, I want the safety to force the outside release and get on his inside hip and be 2 yards behind him and a yard inside. Now, any out-breaking route, I got safety help. Anything that's breaking in or anything shallow, the guy that's pressing him and making him release outside, he's responsible for that. And you can shut all windows. Out route, he's in the window. In route, he's in the window. Any kind of skinny post or post route, he's in the window. And the pass has to go over the top and outside because he has safety help. That could be a reason why you're not seeing as many slants as you saw earlier in the season. So it really all depends on how defenses are now playing him. And when you don't have Dallas Goedert, you have to factor that in. Yeah. You don't have Dallas Goedert and you don't have Lane Johnson. One of the interceptions today came because Leonard Little, batted the ball up in the air. Lane Johnson's not allowing that to happen because really what's supposed to happen, you're supposed to cut that guy. That guy's supposed to be cut down. So when you run that read option, cut him. So if he wants to throw it, now the lane is there. But there's all these factors that factor into why A.J. the last 2 weeks is not having the type of games that he's had, early in the season.
But this is what makes Jalen Hurts so good at the same time, because you look at A.J. Brown, he's going absolutely off in the beginning of the year, and everybody's saying he's a top wide receiver in the NFL. Then all of a sudden teams are starting to figure out maybe how to cover him just a little bit without Dallas Goedert. And Jalen Hurts finds other ways to win, whether it's with his legs, throwing to Devontae Smith, stall we saw today as well. Jalen Hurts right now put this team on his back and continues to do so. And I said it earlier in the week that he's the reason they win ball games. Josh Allen, he's now 0-6 in overtime. Jalen Hurts, not the same thing. And you guys have talked about you don't want the Eagles to necessarily peak right now. You want to wait until later in the season. But for Philadelphia, last year it was a flashy season. They had a lot of good things. They were winning games, and you felt confident about every single win. Is the identity this year, though, just to battle it out and win games and find ways to win no matter if you're down or up against good or bad teams?
I think it's that way every single year. I don't think it ever really changes. We talked about it in the pregame, how Jason Kelce has said it, Jalen Hurts has said it, and even Nick Sirianni said it. Every year is a different year, and it has its different challenges, and it's different obstacles. And I think what you're seeing is teams are trying to figure out ways, to mix up what they're doing. You cannot give Jalen Hurts the same look all the time and think that, you're going to beat him that way. You've got to disguise what you do. You got to give him some new things. You got to play some zone. You got to play some man. You got to play some combinations of half zone and half man, if you will. There's just so many different things that you have to do. And I think that teams are figuring it out. Good defensive coordinators look at when defenses have success against successful quarterbacks, and they say to themselves, well, we do something similar to that. We can take some of that and incorporate what they're doing into what we do to give him a different look. Because what is Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson doing? They're looking at how defenses play from week to week, and they're game planning based upon what defenses are showing them. So if you can come up with something, just a little wrinkle here, a little wrinkle there to give Jalen and Brian and Nick something different to think about or something to have to adjust to during the game, then you're doing your job.
And I think also when you talk about the players not wanting to peak until the end of the season, the coaches are also going to get better and better, especially the coordinators, I think, every single game. Mike, I'm going to go to you, though, because you have said before that kickers may not be real football players. Jake Elliott, once again, proves that he may be the best Eagles kicker in history. He puts the team on his back once again. He is Mr. Dependable. What do you have to say about that now?
Kickers are kickers. They're not football players, but they're necessary, and they're a necessary evil.
They're not football players until you need them to make a 59-yarder.
It's like a lawyer. They're not real people unless you need one. That's the same kind of analogy. But I am.
Good thing you're a lawyer, Mike.
He's so reliable that I have no doubt that he's going to make. That's going to be 3 points every time he lines it up. Even like I thought this field goal was going to be larger than 60 yards, and I go, so what? Like he's going, like it's even at 62, he's going to make that kick.
Yeah.
So when he's lining up for 59 at that point, what I tell you, I go, that's good.
I'd never seen him more confident
It's
and
good.
calm
Like,
about
I've
anything.
never
About a
really,
non-football
And I'm like,
player.
it's a marshy field.
Listen, I know I go off on kickers because I have that much respect for football players that really dig in and blood, sweat, and tears and the whole thing. But this guy is as important, plays an important role for this team as anybody because he gives you points every week. And every week you don't have any angst. How many kickers have we had to go through where you go, you never know, right? It's you always know with this guy.
Well,
I
I
never
think
seen anything like it.
I think it's a matter of maturity because, there's been times over the last 2 or 3 years where, he'd line up and we'd wonder. There's times where, he sprayed an extra point here or there. But it seems like the bigger the kick now, the more sure you are that he's going to put it through. And I'm going to tell you right now, that kick might have been good from like 68, 69 yards because from 59, it went in the net.
He drilled it, too, which I go, okay, Buffalo knows that he's got to kick this low. Like, you would think that would be at a risk to get blocked. But he just, like, phenomenal. He's a phenomenal. And as the longer it's going on, Seth, to your point, he's got such supreme confidence now. Like, look at that other kicker. Like that guy
Tyler
comes
Bass.
out. Yeah, Tyler Bass. He gets a kick blind. He misses another one in a right. And
That
teams,
was a big miss.
Teams go through that every week with their kicker. They never know from one kick to the next. Listen, you have Justin Tucker. I get it. There's some kickers in the league that have that kind of security. But this guy's about as secure a kicker as I've ever seen. So
Well, Bass-
for the time being, he's a football player, Kayla.
Bass,
Just for this week, right?
Today, man. Yeah.
Bass gets one block, then he turns around and misses one. You talk about the psychological thing that's going on. The thing with Jacob missed the extra point and then make the next 10 kicks in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, no problem. It just doesn't affect him psychologically.
And I think that's what makes him so powerful in a game like this. And scrolling through social media, just seeing what everybody thinks about Jake Elliott, they say, okay, Elliott or David Akers for the Philadelphia Eagles as the best in history. I think right now there's no debate, right?
I did not think there was a debate before today, in all honesty. As much as I wasn't confident he was going to make the 59-yard field goal at that point of the game. But, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. I mean, he is money from 50-plus out, made more. He's more consistent. I don't even think it's a question at this point, and this is all due respect in the world to David Akers. It wasn't like I was just rooting for someone to just take David Akers' spot as the best kicker in Eagles history. But I think that a guy like Jake Elliott has taken it and absolutely run with it consistently.
We just have to compare, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't be.
We got to debate, right? We got to debate something.
You can't be grateful for what David Akers presented.
I'm
to the
grateful.
team and be grateful for where Jake Elliott is right now.
Well,
we got to compare 'em,
I believe
right?
it was Teddy Roosevelt comparison as the thief of joy.
100%.
Yeah,
that's my point.
I'm agreeing. But
You're
at
gonna
this
run
point,
into David. He still goes to the Jersey Shore, man. Yeah, I think he's still got to have
Huge
a
fan.
place in Ocean City. You're going to run into him for that.
yeah.
He's not going to be happy.
You ain't no
with either
Jake
of us,
Elliott.
apparently.
You ain't no Jake Elliott. No, all the respect in the world. But if you're asking me who's a better kicker, who's the best kicker in Eagles history, it's Jake Elliott.
And talking about banking on Jake Elliott, you can also bank on Mark's Jewelers as they have great deals from now to November 30th. Give you 5 years to pay and up to $5,000 off. There's no reason to wait. And for Cyber Monday, you'll get 25% off plus free shipping for 24 hours only. Don't miss out on these fantastic deals. If you want to get somebody special a gift for Christmas, go to Mark Jewelers as that rounds out our diamond debate for this segment here. Fantastic game. I love when we don't have to debate about too much because at the end of the day, the Eagles are 10-1, and I think we're all feeling pretty good.
It's phenomenal. You're watching the Lehocky Eagles postgame show on 6abc.com and also on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. And coming up, the great John McMullen. He covered the game at Lincoln Financial Field for JAKIB Media, and we'll get John's spin after this.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the Birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in town.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Lehocky Eagles postgame show. It's live from Ocean Casino, and this is a highlight of the postgame show as we roll on to Lincoln Financial Field, where our guy, John McMullen, who covered the game for JAKIB Media, will explain why and how the Eagles won this game. John, listen, this team just can't lose, and it probably goes hand in hand with Jalen Hurts and the clutchness that he brings from week to week. And, you know, the numbers are what they are. The other guy accounts for 430 yards himself. Jalen wins the game. And the one-loss record we already know about. But his rating when tied or trailing is 113.4. I don't know what to say anymore. Another game, it looked like they were down and out. Now they win again. They're 10-1. Explain it to me.
Boy, I was hoping you guys could explain it to me. This one is tough. You know, I just saw Buffalo had over 500 net yards, total offensive yards. They had 10 conversions or more on third down. They had a plus turnover margin. That's happened 40 times. Previously, those teams were 39-0. Now they're 39-1. You mentioned, I've never seen, Jalen Hurts was deep into the first half, and he had the Blutarski, the 0.0 passer rating. And in the second half, deep into the second half, he had 158.3, which is perfect. I've never seen anything like it. It usually, when you watch a football game, when you watch sports, you know when a team doesn't have it. With the Eagles, they're so relentless. They can play poorly, and then bang, the switch goes on. You know, all I can say is winning is a trait, and they have mastered that trait. Nick Sirianni's the third coach to start consecutive seasons, 10-1. The other two are Don Shula, Tony Dungy. They're in the Hall of Fame. What more could Jalen Hurts is 14-0 in his last 14 games against teams with a winning record. That's the best mark since 1950. And yet, you know, the first half, I had everybody calling for Brian Johnson to be fired and this and that. They were booed off the field. It's kind of amazing. I talk about it all the time. These are the glory days of the Philadelphia Eagles. All due respect to Seth, who was on some great teams. They've never had anything like this run, and it keeps going. It's pretty amazing.
Let's talk about that switch for a second, John, because I'm very curious. We were debating this earlier. Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson, when you see the play calls early in the game, for instance, this particular game where you don't have Lane Johnson and you throw the ball 3 consecutive times to start out the game, and the play calling is not exactly having a lot of success in that first half. Who are we to credit, other than Jalen Hurts' superhuman ability, it seems like, as a quarterback, who are we to credit with the game plan in the first half versus the game plan in the second half with the adjustments and the success they're able to have in that second half versus the first half? Who gets most of that credit from a coaching standpoint?
Well, I think it's always about the players first. It's always about execution. So, and they'll say the same thing. You know, the most honest I always say Nick is, you know, he says, show me a good coach, I'll show you a bunch of good players. So you can't win. You look in New England right now, it's not like Bill Belichick woke up one day and couldn't coach football anymore. He doesn't have a ton of talent. So you could maybe criticize the Bill Belichick, the GM, but it's not like he forgot how to coach football. If you don't have players, you can't win. So it always starts with the players. And, you know, there's certain guys, I always make the baseball analogy. Jalen Hurts reminds me of the old school starting pitcher who maybe doesn't have his A-level stuff, finds a way to grind through and win a game. Now they only pitch 4 or 5 innings, so it doesn't matter. But back in the old days, you would have to grind through. That's what he does. He didn't have his A game today, but he grinded through. It's what he always does. And by the end, when Buffalo didn't score the touchdown, you had the feeling like Eagles are going to win this game in overtime. And they did.
John, you talked about how this is the glory days for this Philadelphia Eagles team. You've been covering this team for a long time. Have you ever seen a kicker more clutch than Jake Elliott?
No. I mean, 59 yards in this weather. I don't think you guys understand. That's why he hit it like a 3-iron. He just crushed that thing, but it was really low. He was in the open end of the field. It's more difficult. For those who know Lincoln Financial Field, the open end, it's more difficult to kick at that. The wind was swirling, said it was a crosswind. And we talked about it. Jake has sort of rated his toughest kicks, the 61-yarders, the Super Bowl kick. He said, you know, he'll think about it, but this was the toughest kick he ever made. And, you know, if you don't even get to overtime without that kick. He's never missed a kick in the final 2 minutes to tie or win a game. Doesn't get much better than that. There's not too many kickers that can say that. And it's not like there have been easy ones. You know, you're kicking 35-yarders. He's got a 61-yarder. He's got a 56-yarder. This one, 59 in horrible weather. Yeah, he's special as kickers go.
Hey, Mike, I know that, John, I'm sorry. If Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and no one else on that team will talk about the lack of respect that not only the team gets, but Jalen Hurts gets. No other player in the National Football League is lighting it up, and no other team through the first 11 to 12 games of the season have double-digit wins. In your opinion, the way that Jalen Hurts has played thus far, should he not be in the top 2 discussion as, you know, for league MVP at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the favorite coming into this week on most of the betting markets, which is kind of meaningless. But yeah, I think people in the league realize just how difficult he is to deal with. I think a lot of that, Seth, comes from, you know, maybe certain media people, certain fans who value statistics, and he's just not. Number one, this is not a statistic-bent sport to begin with, because unbalanced schedules, small sample size, everybody doesn't play the same schedule. They don't play the same teams. You know, you might get some garbage time yards here or there. Guy just wins. I gave you the number 14-0 against winning teams. Forget about the 27-2. I think he's 15-1 now at his last 16 at Lincoln Financial Field. He's 14-0 against winning teams. He's won 14 in a row against, in theory, the best competition. And that hasn't been done since 1950. So to me, the standard for consistency in the regular season is either Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. You went into a season with those guys in the prime of their career saying, if you win 10 games, that's a bad season for them. A good season would be 13, and then you move up from there. Their consistency from week to week was just unparalleled. That's where the Eagles are right now. They're that, and it doesn't happen.
You know, the reason I asked the question is the lack of respect that not only the Eagles but Jalen Hurts gets around the country. We talked about it in the pregame. We talked about it in the postgame. Last week, all that everybody wanted to talk about was what Kansas City did wrong that allowed the Eagles to win the game rather than, what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles did to actually win the game. If the number one, metric is the most valuable player, and I'm just talking about it because, it's on my mind right now. The most valuable player means the most valuable player to your team's success, okay? And the Eagles has had massive success over the last 2 years, even going into this year. They're the only team with double-digit wins. They're the only team with only one loss, through 12 weeks of the season. How in the world is he not considered one of the best? Why is everybody not talking about what Jalen Hurts is doing? Yes, he's had some rough patches, but I've seen a whole lot of other quarterbacks in the league have rough patches and find ways to win. This guy finds ways to win every single week. Okay, and if this is a quarterback-driven league and you have to have a good quarterback to win, isn't he the epitome of that right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very comfortable. Look, if they go 16-1, if they finish this off and don't lose again, he's going to be the MVP. I wouldn't even worry about it. And by the way, the Eagles' goal is far bigger than that. I mean, they want to win the Super Bowl. So, but yeah, if they continue on this pace and keep finding ways to win the game, he's going to be the MVP. And I'm sure there'll be certain people in certain lots of life who criticize him, but that's just people. I mean, Cowboys fans don't like him, Chiefs fans don't like him. If you go back to the Super Bowl, you can play that game in every single NFL game, Seth, unless it's a blowout. Jalen doesn't have the unforced error. If Quez Watkins doesn't drop that pass, people are talking about drop passes last week in Kansas City. Well, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. You can play that game in Kansas City last week, and that's what Chiefs fans did. That's what Eagles fans would do. That's just what fans do. So I wouldn't get too worked up about that. I mean, the guy just the word I use is relentless. The Eagles are relentless. They never stop coming at you. Today was the closest you're like, all right, they're just playing a horrible football game. Buffalo's a talented team. Nope, they just come back and they keep pressing and keep pressing. And it was the Bradbury interception where you said, there it is. And the Eagles are back in the game, take the lead, and ultimately persevere. But yeah, I mean, when you're 10-1, what else can you do but nitpick? So people are going to look at the Bills. The Bills ran 92 offensive plays. 92. Nick was exhausted on the podium, and I kind of was talking to him a little bit off the podium. Everybody was soaked. Everybody was with rain and sweat. And even if you take away the overtime, the defense was out there for 80 plays. So it was hardly a masterpiece, but the scoreboard is where it always is. Eagles win.
John, on that note, here's the thing that sticks out to me. The other teams miss opportunities. Like last week, the Valdez-Scantling. In this game, Cook on a wheel route should have had a touchdown. Diggs was wide open in the end zone in overtime, and peeled out to the left when the quarterback's there. The Eagles don't seem to miss those kind of opportunities, which means at the end of the day, that consistency, they make more big plays than the other team. But I can't remember when they have squandered something like that, when they would make a mistake like the Bills did or the Chiefs did last week.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it. If Valdez-Scantling catches the football last week, I mean, if Jake misses, I expect him to miss a 59-yard field goal in a freaking monsoon. Everybody else would. Game's over. And everybody says, Eagles played poorly. But, yeah, they take advantage of these situations. And, you mentioned the play to Diggs. Yeah, he was open. Yeah, if Josh Allen gets him the football. But, the reason he didn't is because the Eagles blitzed on that play. And he was hurried, and he threw the ball inside instead of outside. So they kind of made their own fortune on that. And obviously, when you execute the way Jake did, you need credit for that. But you can wonder and say, boy, on one point on one game day down the road, is one of these things not going to go the Eagles' way? And I get people thinking about that, but.
Well, but I guess my point is, this is obviously it's got to be a product of really sound coaching, that they don't blow opportunities like other teams seem to blow. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is Nick Sirianni a great coach because they don't miss those kind of opportunities and other teams do?
Well, I go back to the talent. I don't want to overstate. I think Nick's a very good coach. He just did something two other Hall of Fame coaches did, nobody else. So he's clearly a pretty good football coach. But, they have tremendous talent as well. Howie Roseman deserves a ton of credit for putting together, if it's not the best roster in the NFL, you're going to see the other one that might be in the equation next week with San Francisco. They're very deep. They're very talented. So that's part of it. Yeah, they just have good players. I mean, there are a couple kickers. Justin Tucker, you might feel somewhat comfortable with, but there aren't too many kickers you're feeling comfortable with in that type of situation. We talk about Lane Johnson going down, and the Eagles were, I think the number was 10-22 since 2016. And you start saying, well, they don't have Lane. Fletcher went down for a long period of time, came back, had to leave again. Jordan Davis got banged up at the end. Jalen Carter got banged up at one point. By the way, Jalen Carter, that block kick, I mean, he keeps making plays week after week. The fact that the rest of the NFL handed Howie a gift with Jalen Carter. A lot of things have gone right for this particular team, and it's up and down the roster. But I always lean talent first, but they're very well coached, and they have a tremendous GM, and that's why they are where they are.
John, you talked about the incredible start to the last two seasons here, especially for Nick Sirianni, 10-1 back-to-back years. No one's done that, in forever. And you look at this particular team now, and I want to go to something else here, and that's just a feeling of confidence in watching this team and expecting them to win. You said they haven't had a run like that. I can't remember a run other than the Super Bowl run where it just felt like no matter what adversity the team was facing, especially in the second half of a game, and even this is at a higher rate than that, you always felt like this team was going to make the bigger play or make the more clutch play to solidify a win or continue a comeback. And last week, you look at the situation against Kansas City Chiefs as a perfect example of that, with the interception in the end zone, punching the ball free of Travis Kelce, and then just waiting there, lying in the weeds, James Bradbury, to yet again be able to pick off a guy like Josh Allen. And I just feel like in watching this team, they have that big play time and time again, whether it's a turnover or a clutch play by Jalen Hurts, where they're going to make that big play in order to solidify a win or, really polish off a comeback. Do you go back to that Super Bowl year, that Super Bowl run, and have a similar type of feeling when you look at this football team?
Well, and I said it, a lot of people don't like it when I say it, but I said it last year as well. This team's better than that Super Bowl team, and I covered that team every day for every day of that season. This team's more talented. It's deeper. It's a better team. But a lot of things have to go right to win a Super Bowl. A lot of stars have to align. You can't get the right injury at the wrong time. The football's it is what it is. Sometimes it bounces in crazy ways and things like that. The Eagles outplayed Kansas City last year in the Super Bowl. They didn't win the game. We talked about the unforced error by Jalen Hurts, the drop by Quez Watkins, the punt return, the blown coverages. I don't want to relitigate that, but that team was better than the Doug Peterson, Jim Schwartz team. This team's better. They won't be regarded as that unless they finish the deal. And it's hard. It's hard to do that because the best team doesn't always win. I always go back to the 16-0 Patriots. The New York Giants weren't better than the Patriots, but they won on that particular day. It can happen. But I would tell fans to enjoy this team because this team is special. It doesn't happen. Don't get used to it. It's not going to be this way forever.
John, I'm going to enjoy it, but I got to talk to you about something negative here for a second. So this Eagles defense, number one rushing defense in the league coming in. First 9 games of the year, opponents were only averaging 66 yards against. The last 2 games, you saw the Chiefs go for 168. You saw Buffalo tonight go for 173. Is that something to be concerned about? Have teams figured out how to run the ball on this defense?
No, well, I thought Kansas City did a good job, and they kind of out-physicaled the Eagles, especially early in that game, which you rarely see. And I think the Eagles kind of corrected it a little bit later. Today was all Josh Allen. I mean, if you look at the actual running backs, and I'll pull it up here real quick. Cook averaged 2.7 yards a carry. Murray averaged 3.3. Johnson averaged 3.2. They were getting nowhere. Josh Allen is responsible for 81 yards by himself on 9 carries. And, he's a guy where sometimes you have to tip your cap to the other team, and they have really good players. He's really difficult to deal with, especially when he gets outside the pocket, the open field as a runner. So the traditional running game, the Eagles completely shut it down. They had trouble with Josh Allen. So you don't play Josh Allen every week. I wouldn't be too concerned over that. And Milton Williams was out. Milton's a very good run defender. But I got to tell you, Jordan Davis, and that's the reason, even in overtime, it was, they almost ran the football on first down, got nothing. Josh Allen would face a 3rd and long and convert it. I don't think the traditional running game for Buffalo was effective at all, to be honest.
John, I am a little concerned with with the defensive run defense the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to run the numbers here right quick as I talk to you. So they had 92 total yards by the running backs. Yeah, they averaged 2.8 yards per carry. But I think the combination of how the running backs was running the ball, and when you put that together with how the Eagles were running the ball, how Josh Allen was running the ball gives you the numbers that you get. The same thing with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, rushed for 65 yards today. The Eagles ran the ball 32 times for 185 yards. The Bills ran it 40 times for 173 yards. And when you look at the game, what the Bills did, was kind of a microcosm of what the Eagles were actually doing to the Bills. They spread them out. They go, the Eagles obviously want to go too high safety, because they're being spread out. So when you go too high safety, that linebacker has to leave the box and actually go to the 3rd receiver. Now you got quarterback draws and all of these other runs that you can actually run. The Eagles' problem in the run game to me is on first and second down, they cannot stop the run out of their four-man line. You know, they have to go to the five-man line, which then makes them even that much weaker, you know, behind the defense. How do they rectify that? This is one of those situations we were talking about it early. This is one of those situations where the lack of equity in the linebacker position comes to fruition. And to me, it will continue to be, you know, a problem, because if you can't stop the run in the four-man line, then offenses actually force you into the five-man look.
Well, I think the Eagles want to be in that when Milton is healthy. They started with the 40 front today because Milton wasn't healthy. And when they went to 50, it was Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and Brandon Graham. Typically, it's Jordan Davis, Cox, Williams, Hassan Reddick, and Josh Sweat. When that fivesome is out there, they're really, really good, and I think they want to be out there to turn 1st and 10 into 2nd and 9 or 3rd and 8, and they've been generally very effective in that for most of the season. As I said, the first half in Kansas City, yes, they had a little bit of trouble. I think they were out physical, as I mentioned, which is rare. But I think they corrected that. Well, you're right. They were down a little bit. Milton's one of those guys who, he's in the conversation to be the most underrated player on this team this year. And I think people look at it and say, Milton's not going to be there because he doesn't make a lot of big plays or splashy plays. But he's really important to what they do. And they had to shift gears. And then they lost Zach Cunningham to a hamstring injury. And all of a sudden, Christian Ellis is out there. But as I said, you go to the overtime, and it got to the point where, okay, so they get the ball to 25, 1st and 10. It was Cook for 1 yard. An incompletion, and then Josh Allen's got to make a play. And then it was 1st and 10 at the 39. It was Cook for 1 yard. And then it was 2nd and 9, incomplete, 3rd and 9. He's got to make a play. Scramble for 15. All of a sudden, it's 1st and 10 at the 45. That time they went right to the pass because the run game wasn't working. And they convert again, and then it's 1st and 10 at the Eagles' 26. It's Latavius Murray for no gain. And they're 2nd and 10. And he's got to make plays. They couldn't run the ball at all, traditionally. And that's the overtime with the 12-play drive because Josh Allen kept making plays. And that's why I said Josh Allen is really, really difficult to deal with. And there are certain guys, Lamar Jackson, he was playing right now, I think. Justin Fields, tomorrow will be on Monday Night Football. They're going to get rushing yards. It's just part of it. And Josh is one of those guys.
I tell you what.
But you don't play those guys every week.
Right. I tell you what, I know that, I know that they were thin today. And we were talking about while we were watching the game, I was like, I would kick Brandon Graham down, to tackle in obvious passing situations. John, I believe that, at this point in his career, he may be a better defensive tackle than he is, a defensive end. And I'd be trying to figure out a way to get that guy re-signed because I think that he's got at least another 2 years left in him. If they can move him inside in passing situations and sparingly use him on the outside if Nolan Smith can come along. Because I just think that he is, that sack he had, from the tackle position today was massive. Massive. They hadn't gotten to, Josh Allen all day long, and he just destroyed that guard.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned BG, Seth, because today was game number 189. No player in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles has played more games than Brandon Graham, which is amazing if you think about where he started and people were calling him a bust and Chip Kelly was going to cut him for Travis Long, if anybody remembers Travis Long. And he ultimately turns into one of the franchise's all-time great players. made arguably the biggest play in franchise history. People talk about the Philly special, but what won the game, what won the Super Bowl was Brandon Graham's strip sack. He is a tremendous player. He is sort of the temperature of this team. He sets the tone with the trash talk and his personality and the energy. He wants to play 15 years. This is his 14th year. I agree with you. I think the Eagles should bring him back for one more year. We'll see if they do it. But he can still play, and he proves it every week, and he's part of that great defensive front. And it's just amazing to me that no Eagle has played. He is the longest tenured Eagle of all time.
John, we appreciate the knowledge. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is a team that just refuses to lose. They're 10-1, and the next week's a challenge, yes. So we'll catch you next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, John McMullen, brought to us by Del Val Insurance, where you can save up to 40% on your car insurance right now. All you got to do is call partners Fran or Jim at Del Val Insurance. Here's how you can connect.
My name is Fran Salerno. I'm a managing director here at Del Val Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
My name is Fran Salerno. I'm a managing director here at Del Val Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Do you stream on a Roku, a Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app. Watch Action News live.
And the big story on Action News.
Plus special programming, breaking news, and severe weather updates.
Tremendous amounts of rain.
Always on, always the news team you trust. Watch 6ABC 24/7 on your streaming device. Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
You heard us talk a lot about this here on JAKIB Media, and it's our great partnership with the EBOD Foundation, the EBOD Foundation to help combat Alzheimer's as well as dementia. We have a very special event going on right here at JAKIB Media that involves yours truly, Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, as well as Mike Missinelli, when you could get involved in the big Score for a Cure contest. And what does that get you? That gets you possibly tickets to the big game as well as $2,000 worth of spending money in Las Vegas. So do yourself a favor. Just like in football, you can only rely right now on the strength of your players and the strength of a community. And this football fan base and its community wants to help the people combat Alzheimer's with the EBOD Foundation. Right now, you could text the word SCORE to 833-202-9835. That's 833-202-9835. And use promo codes Team Miss, Team Seth, Team Gunn, and Team Farzi as well. Now, what does that win you? Well, I'll tell you this. It wins you 2 tickets to the big game, 2 nights in a hotel, as well as $2,000 in cash expenses, all when you text the word SCORE to 833-202-9835. You win, and you get in. Simple as that. We'll be having a nice little friendly golf wager as well to help put you in the stands there for the big game. And still, somehow, magically, Team Miss just ahead of Team Joyner, with Team Gunn coming up the rear and me distant fourth. Go figure. So make sure you guys take advantage of all they have to offer right there. And also, Tuesday is Giving Tuesday for the EBOD Foundation as well.
That was very well done. And, I need to extend my lead. So next week on the show, I'll be wearing like a little Napoleon Dynamite action. Vote for Mikey Miss T-shirt.
Yeah. You better watch. I'm going to have a Jalen Hurts-like comeback in the second half.
Vote for Pedro. Vote for Mikey Miss.
Self-promotion.
Napoleon Dynamite. Anybody
Don't
who
you
gets
just
that reference.
loathe self-promotion?
I admire it.
It's getting
it's a
too
hell of a
close
move
now. Getting too close with Seth. It is time for Game Balls, and it's brought to you by Colony Pools. Check out flywithcolony.com. Let Colony Pools power wash your home. Good time to get it done, by the way. Or if you need the pool closed, you get that Kelly Green pool closing. That's really cool. The canvas in Kelly Green. And also you can get a Kelly Green jersey. So check out the website, flywithcolony.com. Time for Game Balls, crew. I sit here and I go, how could I not give it to Jalen Hurts? Right? I mean, is there really a debate on this right now? I mean, his numbers aren't great. Okay, you're not going to look at the numbers and see that it's a great numbers day for Jalen Hurts, while the other guy accounted for 400-plus yards. But he makes the clutch plays, and 3 touchdowns in the second half, and the one pass on a scramble to Zacchaeus is just one of the great plays you're ever going to see. So game ball for me goes to Jalen Hurts.
Well, it's hard to argue with that. Also 5 touchdowns to Josh Allen's measly 4. That guy sucks. But the other thing to go with that, Mike, is I just saw this from the Eagles. I want to get this stat in right now. Best coach quarterback record through the first 45 games. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are 34-11 in that stretch. They are up there with the names of Don Shula and Dan Marino, 35-10. LaFleur and Rodgers, whatever, mostly Rodgers, 36-9, and Reed and Mahomes, who are pretty good at football as well, 36-9. That's the best since the merger in 1970.
Brady and Belichick is not in there?
Not on there, surprisingly.
Really?
That is surprising.
All right.
Not on there.
I'll take that.
That's according to the Elias Sports
They weren't
Bureau.
they weren't that prolific until later on down the road. The defense in the beginning was the part of that team that won them their first 2 Super Bowls. It wasn't until Peyton figured out how to beat them that they went to a spread offense, and they just exploded offensively from there. Those first couple of years, it was the defense.
Good trivia question.
To answer your question, the question that's out there now regarding the game ball, I don't know how many times we're getting an opportunity to do it. There's a couple of names that are out there, but I am just still baffled that somehow, magically, of all the times the football gods or sports gods have frowned on Philadelphia, Jalen Carter somehow became a member of the Philadelphia sports community through that draft. And he came up with an epic game tonight, an incredible game tonight, was obviously a force to be reckoned with throughout the football game. But then you look at him, the way he was able to block that field goal, really helped turn the tides of the game. I'm going to give my game ball to Jalen Carter.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with the other Jalen, though, and Jalen Hurts.
Well,
I think I have to agree, with Mike here. I think you look at this guy and you say, okay, 5 touchdowns is really good as well. The first player ever to have 10-plus consecutive touchdowns in 3 straight years. Not only that, but I feel like in recent memory for the Philadelphia Eagles, I have never thought of a quarterback that can go into a game with 90 seconds left on the clock, and I am sure that he can go up the field and win the game. You're talking about a guy that is trying to play on a level of confidence like Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes. When those guys go in, there could be 40 seconds left on the clock, and you're confident that they can go down the field and score the ball. That's what Jalen Hurts is turning into if he hasn't already. It's game after game. He looked maybe more brushed up last season, but the way that he's able to win and battle adversity this year, it's fantastic to see. I don't know how you can't.
No, and especially Kayla with the response in the first half when people were just ready, they had the knives out for him.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with him today? What's the deal with him today? Right?
He's going to find a way to win, though.
The script always gets flipped. Seth, who's your game ball?
It can't be anybody but Jalen Hurts. 4 for 11 through the first half, and a touchdown and an interception. 7 carries for 22 yards and 99 total net yards in the first half, and to walk away with a 3-point win in this game. The guy did it last week. He turned it on again this week, and I don't understand, how it could be anybody else but that. You go 3 touchdowns in a row, then you punt, then you go a field goal on a 9-play drive to tie the game, and then after giving up a field goal to have the lead in the overtime, you drive your team 9 plays, 75 yards, and cap it off with a quarterback run to win it in overtime. There's nobody else. He is the heartbeat of the team. He is the reason why this team is winning the way they are. I don't care what anybody on the national level has to say. Jalen Hurts is a major player in the National Football League. And you can hate as long as you want, but 10-1 is 10-1, and the proof is in the pudding. Point blank, period. If I had a mic, I wouldn't just drop it. I'd slam that son of a gun on the floor right now.
You know who didn't get any love today? Maybe I'd give a quarter of a game ball. DeAndre Swift had a quiet 80 yards, and he had a really big run. But let's go into our drive of the game, because we have a couple ways we can go. The obvious thing is the drive of the game that wins it in overtime, which was a great drive. But for me, guys, Buffalo has a 10-point lead. It's 24-14. And the Eagles go 7 plays, 75 yards on that drive to make it 24-21. Didn't take the lead, but it got them right back in the swing of things. And it started out with a little 4-yard DeAndre Swift, and then they go 33 yards with a deep pass to the left side to Devontae Smith, and that got them into Buffalo territory. From there, they're just chip away. And that's where the great play call, Brian Johnson, comes with the fake screen, and then hitting Devontae in the middle for a 15-yard TD. 7 plays, 75 yards to make it 24-21. To me, that's the drive of the game.
I think with all the criticism that Brian Johnson has taken so far this season, there's one thing I think most people should be able to agree with. And that is when you break down a young player in the league, somebody that might have some promise, you say you've seen flashes. You've seen flashes of something that could be great. I have certainly seen flashes, at least from Brian Johnson this year, and I think if most people are being honest with themselves, fake screens have kind of been a big part of that flash. The jet sweep last week against Kansas City Chiefs, that was a flash. That fake screen in particular, where you're able to see Devontae Smith in the end zone for the touchdown, that was a flash of some great play calling, and hopefully what's more great play calling to come from Brian Johnson. But yeah, I think that was a great job and a great way to cap it off.
I'm going to go with what was an interception that ended up turning into a score as well. You talk about James Bradberry, and we set it up in the green room. He was getting burnt a little bit, and then all of a sudden he comes up with a huge play that we called at halftime. Josh Allen's going to turn the ball over. Well, it was James Bradberry that was able to make it happen. And then on 3rd and 15, the third down game was going to the Buffalo Bills all night long. The Eagles defense just couldn't stop it. But 3rd and 15, Jalen Hurts airs it out to Olamide Zaccheaus. You guys talked about it. Not only was it a fantastic catch, but also a great throw by Jalen Hurts, the confidence that he had to be able to do that. That puts them up in the game in the fourth quarter. And from there, for me, I said the Philadelphia Eagles, because of that play, that confidence, they're going to win the game. Seeing what Jalen can do with spreading the ball with other guys on the field is a big reason why they're able to win these games.
And to your point, Seth, that was coached by Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
After the game, Olamide Zaccheaus, when he was addressing the media, flat out said, I just went where Jalen told me to go, and that's where the ball found him.
Well, there's a lot of drives that you can pick here. From the 9th drive on, They go touchdown, 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 punt, field goal, touchdown to win the game. And you can pick a lot of them. But I agree with Kayla here because 3rd and 15 for a touchdown, that is like insane. Because, you know, if they don't complete that, more than likely they kick the field goal. They kick the field goal, they lose the game. They don't win this game. They lose the game. You know, they're down by 7 instead of being down by 3 when Jake has to kick that field goal. So now we're throwing a Hail Mary and hoping that we come up with the play that actually wins the game. So that play was critical, absolutely critical. It's one thing to be 3rd and 15 and you figure out a way to convert it, but 3rd and 15 for a touchdown, that's game-changing, season-changing, psych-changing, mentality-changing. It changed everything in that football game to me.
I'm still going with the final drive of the game for the
That's a
touchdown.
good one.
No,
Simply because they faced 1 third down on that entire drive, and they had everything clicking. They had to obviously score the touchdown for the win. Nobody wanted to see a tie, obviously. But to see them be able to convert the way they did.
You picked the drive of the game as the one that actually wins the game.
How dare I?
Exactly.
I gave Jalen Hurts a game ball, or Jalen Carter a game ball. I had to capitalize on one of these.
Hey, listen, don't get me wrong, Mark. It's a great drive. But they don't get to that point without that 3rd and 15 completion.
Sure.
You know, the Bradbury interception, the first turnover of the game, they capitalized on it. Something that the Eagles have not been doing, that other teams have been doing to our defense, is they've been converting turnovers to points. They actually converted, you know, that turnover to 7 points, and it was huge because if they kick a field goal there, you know Jake Elliott's going to make that field goal. You know, they're in a 4-point deficit, you know, in the big scheme of things, and they probably don't win that football game.
And guess what? It wasn't A.J. Brown. It wasn't Devontae Smith. It was Olamide Zaccheaus. Jalen Hurts able to find everybody. A big reason why he could be and is in the MVP conversation right now.
All right, our drive of the game is presented by Rafferty Subaru. It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru. And it's time for our injury update from his home studio. It's the great Dr. Bruce Grossinger. Dr. Bruce, they lost a couple of guys, got banged up today. So what did you see out there with the injury list?
Well, 2 of them were really important because they're 2 of the best run stoppers. Fletcher Cox had a groin injury. He basically slipped and did a split. And when you're 330 pounds, that's not a good thing. But he was able to stand on the sidelines. He didn't have to go into the locker room. But a big loss there. Zach Cunningham, as you all pointed out, I think the best run stopper, most physical player. Also with those wet conditions, had a hyperextended semimembranosis. In layman's terms, he had a hamstring pull. And you know how hamstrings are. You never know. But the good news is Lane Johnson had some groin soreness, and he's supposed to be back next week. And now we're still doing the countdown for Dallas Goedert. 2 weeks to play, and obviously he's a tremendous asset to the team.
Doc, when you do talk about Lane Johnson here, one of the things I'm concerned about is extended period of time that he could miss. I understand he's fought through high ankle sprains before many times in his career, ankle sprains in his career. Why is it so necessary that a groin injury is going to keep him out for this game?
In the offseason, he underwent surgery for an adductor, which is really essentially the groin. So they actually did a surgery where they attached his adductor, and so that's exactly the area where he felt soreness. So I think, given the fact that he had a tear in surgery, they used an abundance of caution today, particularly with the inclement weather.
And for Fletcher Cox with that groin injury, how much do you think that it's going to make him maybe play only 50% next week against San Fran, or do you think he's good to go considering he was able to finish out the game today?
Well, he was able to stand, just to clarify, he was able to stand on the sidelines in a really, he's able to stand maybe for an hour and a half, so that's a good sign. As far as the percentage, I just hope that he's able to be effective in playing. But if so, he'll probably play about the same percentage, maybe 30 to 40% of the snaps. That would be an educated guess.
Doc, out of all the people that are injured, the guy that concerns me the most is Lane Johnson at this point in time. Groin tightness or groin soreness, was the report. How likely, is it that he's going to be able to be 100% next week or be in a position where he can actually step back out on the field? the team is obviously at a massive, massive disadvantage when he's not on the field for a myriad of different reasons. Is his injury something that can be, overcome in a short period of time from this Sunday to next Sunday, I should say?
It's a great question. So, again, he did practice the last 2 days, and he even practiced before the game today, and it was determined by the trainers, the coaches himself, to keep him out. So I think it was groin soreness as opposed to a groin tear. So if we presume that it'll be a dry field, luckily November, December, this is the driest time of year. So if we presume it'll be a dry field, I think he will go. And I agree with you, he's the most important player, particularly against a physical team like the 49ers.
Doc, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate the knowledge, and we will catch you next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, let's take a big break, our last break of the show, and come back and look at the monster game. It's like we thought this was a monster game. Next week, it's even bigger as the 49ers come to town. We'll be back to talk about that and to wrap it up right here on the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show. Right back after this.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
My name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech, we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
And down the stretch we come on the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino, where the Eagles win another game. They're the team that can't lose. They're the team that won't lose. They win in overtime today. But next week, another monster challenge as the San Francisco 49ers come to town in a revenge situation, loaded for bear. They're 8-3, the 49ers, and if they have any hope of the number 1 seed in the NFC, next week at Lincoln Financial Field is a must-win for the Niners. How are we feeling about it?
How do you still not feel great? I mean, look, this is the biggest game of the year. I mean, everyone wants to put the focus on the Cowboys. We know when the push comes to shove in the playoffs, the Cowboys are going to choke. This 49ers team is a better 49ers team than the team that came in here for the NFC Championship game. Anyone being honest with himself knows that, but I'm still confident that the Eagles win this game. What I don't like is the fact that the Eagles are really banged up now going into this particular game, and the 49ers are coming off a game where they obviously are very well rested, having played on Thanksgiving. But no excuses. The Eagles should still win this game. From what I saw, also, 1.5 underdogs going into that game.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The Eagles are
the
underdogs?
Eagles, 1.5 underdogs.
Wow. Well, Seth, how do you feel about that?
I'll let Kayla go.
Go ahead, Kayla.
No one likes us, and we don't care. That's been the Eagles' motto for so long now. But listen, I think this is going to be a really exciting game. The last thing I need, though, is San Francisco and their fans going crying after they lose at the link once again. I'm confident in the Philadelphia Eagles. I've come up here and say, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. The one thing that I saw this week was the second half adjustments by Brian Johnson. Whether that was Nick Sirianni over his head or it was all Brian Johnson, no matter what, they made it work on the offensive side of things. Now, you hope for Philadelphia that they're able to come out in the first half and get the run game going a little bit more. But the one thing I've been preaching all season long is Brian Johnson needs to make adjustments, and he's been able to do so. Now, if you don't have Lane Johnson back, definitely going to be a little bit tough of an offensive night for Philadelphia. A lot of the pressure is going to come to Jalen Hurts, especially with Nick Bosa and Chase Young coming off the edge. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts wins football games. It's at the link. I'm confident in Philadelphia, and I think they come out with a win next week.
Interesting.
By the way, 1 point underdog.
They're
They're 1 point underdog.
Seth, I'm
Eagles.
getting a vibe from you that you're not feeling it next week.
To be honest with you, Mike, I don't have the same urgency about this game that you guys do. I really don't. The Eagles have a 2-game lead. They need to win, in my opinion, one of the 2 next games, okay, which keeps them in seed number 1, because there's no way that they're losing to Seattle, the Giants twice, and the Cardinals. So the Eagles are beat up. The 49ers are going to come in here breathing fire. That's fine. We need to beat them when it really matters, and that's in the NFC Championship. So is it a game that we want to win? Absolutely. We want to win every single game that we line up between the white lines and play. But it's not as urgent of a game for me as it is, for everybody else. Because bragging rights mean nothing during the season. Where the rubber really meets the road is during the postseason. Now they're a better football team. The Eagles are not going to survive with Jack Driscoll lined up against Nick Bosa all day long. That's a slaughter waiting to happen. But I feel like the Eagles have to figure out a way, because they're gonna face 2 sides to this 49ers offense. From one perspective, they're a very physical team, the way they like to run the ball. And when they can mix and match, Deebo Samuels, jet sweeps, put him in the backfield, hand him the ball, and then turn around and feed McCaffrey the ball, their run game is going to have to be on point. And I would venture to say that they're probably going to have to play a lot more 5-man than they really want to, because that's the only way they're going to be able to control this run game. But then they get, they turn into a finesse team with all the motion and all the stuff that they got going, all the eye candy that they try to present to you. They're trying to move you and get you out of position, for their passing game. So the Eagles have a major situation on their hands of being able to navigate both the physical and the finesse side of it. They're one of the few teams in the league, in my opinion, that's able to do it. And then just defensively, man, they're just a juggernaut on the defensive side of the ball. They fly around. This is one of those games that we talked about. This is one of those games where Jalen Hurts, more than any other time, he's going to have to sit in that pocket when they decide to throw the ball and take what the defense is giving them. They're going to have to come out and run the ball. They're not going to have the opportunity to pass it, and then make the adjustment in the second half. They better come out with the intent to control the line of scrimmage from the word go, and then try to implement the pass game off of the run game, But it's one of those games in the pass game where If the check down's there, you got to take it. If it's 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, whatever it is, you got to take it, because the object is going to have to be to try to figure out how you can move the chains, convert on third downs, and win time of possession. Because today, what was there, 14, 15 possessions in the game?
Yeah.
They can't survive. They can't survive against that offense with that many possessions.
Here's my only worry about the game. If the 49ers win it and somehow the Eagles, and they win out and somehow the Eagles wound up with 3 losses, the tiebreak would come into play for home field advantage of number 1 seed. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's wrap it up right here on our Pine Lehocky Eagles postgame show. A great game today, an unbelievable turn of events, up and down, and I know a lot of fans were invested. We were invested as well. The Eagles win another game where you go, really? But they roll on. They're 10-1 in the 49ers next week. For Mark Farzetta, Kayla Santiago, Seth Joyner, Bill Colarulo, and our pal Derek Gunn back at home. D, we're still with you. Hang in there, dealing with the situation at home. We hope to see you very soon. Have a great night, everybody, and a great rest of the week. And we'll see you next week right here on the Pine Lehocky Eagles postgame show. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey Philly, it's Tom Giordano from Pine Lehocky. Follow us on Instagram for your chance to win free Eagles tickets all season long. That's right, I'm talking regular season, playoffs, and even the Super Bowl. So follow us on Instagram for your chance to win free Eagles tickets.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling. Asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.